What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's finally for Albaz, Despia, branded, whatever you want to call it. It finally arrived in Australia. It's almost been a month since it released everywhere else, but we finally have our hands on it, and I can finally bring you the profile that I've been waiting to bring you. But before we do get started on this one, as always, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into this deck profile. Before we do get started on this one, though, it is brought to you, of course, by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful NolanTCG extra deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code NOLAN10YP for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats down. Make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck profile. Okay, so now we do get into the deck profile portion of the video. I have opted to play an adventure package. I did take a lot of inspiration from this from Pack's list that he used to pilot to the giant card win. I'd been messing around with this list for a while, wanted to try and keep it at 40 somehow, but I've trimmed it down a little bit to try and keep it there, because I originally inflated it up, because for the longest time I wasn't playing the package with Frightfur and Edge Imp and stuff like that. That is in the deck now, we will get to that, but that did balloon it out from what I was originally playing at 40 cards. I had to cut some hand traps, and yeah, that does bring us to the list that we are currently playing. Let's get on to the profile. So starting us off, we have 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz. Pretty standard stuff. You can get away with playing 1, like, by all means. It is a little bit more risky in case anything goes wrong, but 2 is just like the correct number. Then we go to, next off, we are Despia stuff. We are playing 3 copies of Aluba. If I trim this deck list down any further to 40, if I got it, I think it's 44 at the moment. If I could get it to 42, I would cut the Aluba to get it to 41, but I can't find 2 cards to cut from the rest of this list. I can find 1 card of space. It is actually the next card. It is Tragedy. Bringing Tragedy down to 1 would get me closer to the point where I can feel comfortable playing 2 Aluba, but yeah, at the moment we're sticking with a 3-2 ratio on each of them, bumping us up to 44. I'm fairly certain it's 44. Count me if I'm wrong, but in the grind game, the 2 Tragedy is so good. When you open your hand and you have a way to trigger its effect from hand, really, really good. So I couldn't justify not playing just the 1 Tragedy, given that playing the 2 gets you going for like a longer amount of time. And yes, you can shuffle it back, but it overall gives you more consistency, and you get harder pluses off your cards that make you go minus. Then we go into our power one-ofs. We have 1 copy of Ad Libitum, 1 copy of Spriggan's Kit, 1 copy of Spriggan's Mercuria, or Tri-Brigade Mercuria, and then the 1 copy of Albion the Shrouded Dragon. Each of them have their own techs and resources. They get you resources in different ways. You can loop the Shrouded Dragon in this deck, which is really good for the grind game. Ad Libitum, of course, gets you the hard pluses, and then you get the negation from the Mercurial, and then the pluses from the kit. Well, actually, you potentially get the same plus off each of them. Then we have our light target for the deck. It is Fairy Tale Snow. I did actually flirt around with playing a Golden Lord instead, with the amount of, like, kind of generic cards you can have in your back row that you can send off the Lord to get back and get it down with 35. Can really push for damage, but Snow does handle a lot of things that Snow just kind of is the only handle to it. And if you're playing a lot of mirror matches, like I probably expect to be over the next few weeks, Snow being able to book a few things can cause a bit of problems when your opponent's trying to push for game. Then we go into our Edge Imp package, because we are playing that Frightfur package. We have the 3 copies of Edge Imp Chain. I did flirt with this at 2, but overall, again, same reason as to playing the 2 copies of Tragedy. You get too many pluses when you can send it for effect, so playing the 3 was kind of good. That, and I wanted to be able to resolve everything in a nice roundabout way and not have any dead cards in the deck. Then we get into our Adventure package. This is completely cuttable if you don't want to play the Adventure package. You can just play hand traps instead to get it to 40. But I have opted for the Adventure package just because it can guarantee certain things. So 3 copies of Water Enchantress coming through at the start, with 1 copy of Wandering Griffin Rider after that. Then lastly, for our monster lineup, we have our hand traps. So we've got 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring closing out that. Then we do get to our spells. Of course, pretty thick spell lineup because this is a fusion deck. We do have our 3 copies of Branded Fusion, pretty stock standard for the deck, just fusion summon from deck. 3 copies of Branded Opening, Of course, pretty stock standard again, gets you hard pluses. You do desperately need to open this with the branded package to kind of resolve full combo. And not the branded package, the adventure package. That's it. Brave. Whichever we call it in the TCG. I can never remember. And then after that, we're down to 2 copies of Branded in red. Simply just a third card that I've cut out of the list to try and save a bit of space. You can bump this out to 3 if you'd like, but you don't want to brick on it, and opening 2 can be pretty rough. Typically, you can also just set it on your own turn if you open a good enough combo, so there's no real need to be playing this at 3. And then the last card I have in the main deck for Branded Spells is 1 copy of Branded Lost. Can be pretty good to shut down your opponent's responses to your card effects. And then also you do get that free plus. So the card does just give you advantage in multiple ways, and there's no reason as to why you shouldn't play 1 copy of Branded Lost. Then we go into our adventure package for our spells and traps. 2 copies of Rites of Armor Seer. Yes, it is cool if one gets hard negated, you can activate another, but it can be a brick if you open multiple. Thus we've trimmed it down to 2. 1 copy of the Fateful Adventure. Of course, it's just pretty standard. You just play a 1-on-1 ratio of these guys. We're not going so big in our deck that you do need to play 2. We're also not playing a draw engine that would remove them, so you may as well just play the 1-1 ratio. They are effectively garnets. Then we have our fusion package to go along with our Fright First. So 2 copies of Poly and 2 copies of Patchwork. Of course, you need one to add the other. And then 3 copies of Crossout Designator following that up. This is simply here for the mirror match, because again, a lot of people at locals are starting to pick up Branded here in Australia now that everyone's been chasing it. So the Crossout Designator will not only come with the mirror match, it will shut down the Ash on the Branded Fusion in main phase 1, which is the reason why we've opted to have it in the main deck. And then also, again, Prank Kids shuts down the package for Adventure. So you can shut down your Water Enchantress, you can shut down your opponent's Rights, and that's why you also can just play 2 Rights instead of just playing 1. And then we have our last spell cards, just general consistency stuff. 1 copy of Foolish, 1 copy of Gold Sark, each adds you cards from deck to your hand. Okay, now we get into the extra deck. Again, relatively solved extra deck now. Given that we got this deck so late here in Australia, there wasn't really a lot of creativity to be looking at. I do have a couple of small things that you can guess are kind of tech cards, but everyone just kind of plays things in different ways. And this is what I've essentially settled on, what I'm comfortable playing. We do, of course, start off with 2 copies of Mirror Jade. Best card in the deck, I guess. It's a free interaction. I might rate Lebellion better. I could rate Guardian Chimera better. But the card is very, very good. Gives you that free interaction on the opponent's turn, and you can net pluses off that as well. The 2 copies of Lebellion gets you that shuffle back and summon. We have the 2 copies of Masquerade the Branded Dragon. Rather cute card when you're playing 2 of it. Just generically a lot of 2-ofs in this extra deck, as you can kind of guess. After that, we have the 2 copies of Albion the Branded Dragon. You can make one with the Snow from deck. The other one you'd typically make on... you'd typically send off your Masquerade, your Mirror Jade. Then we have 2 copies of Guardian Chimera coming through after that. I did flirt with playing 1 of this. However, I got these early when they weren't ridiculously expensive, so I didn't feel too bad about playing 2 of it. Realistically, you can have 1 for on your turn, 1 to make on your opponent's turn, just so you can generally get super hard pluses off both. You can also just shuffle back the others if you need to shuffle them back. And then we go into our one-offs. So we have 1 copy of Despia and Quirtus. It is effectively a Super Poly target. I would rarely make this going first. Same again with Predaplant Dragus Stapelia. Another effective Super Poly target. When we're playing Super Poly in the side deck, there is a reason to kind of have these things in your extra. 1 copy of Sprin the Iron Dash Dragon. It's just here for the ability to get the Spriggan's kit. And then same again with Brigand the Glory Dragon, just here to get the Mercuria. And then lastly, 1 copy of Verte Anaconda. There will actually be times where you can link summon in this deck, and making a Verte sending Branded Fusion is actually not too bad of a shout. Thus, the 1 copy of Verte lives in the deck. But that does wrap us up here for the deck profile for this one. So as always, if you do have any recommendations or things you would change, do make sure to comment them down below. If you were in Australia, have you finally managed to get your hands on Branded at your locals / fine establishment you purchase cards from? Because it was very difficult for us. And as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.